The lower back, also known as the lumbar spine, is a common site not only for stiffness, but also injury amongst jiu-jitsu practitioners. And the longer you train in jiu-jitsu without proper lower back mobility training, the more at risk you can become. Here's a short follow-along lumbar spine mobility training session using the principles of functional range conditioning. I hope you enjoy. The first exercise we're going to do is called spinal segmentation. It looks a lot like cat-cow. The only difference is we're trying to move from each individual vertebrae, not moving the spine as one. So I'll demonstrate 1 rep, and then we'll do 3 together. So from this quadruped position, I start in a fully flexed spinal position. And now from my tailbone, I think about turning my spine into extension, 1 vertebrae at a time, slowly going up the spine, through the thoracic, and finally up through the cervical. Now, when I'm in this position, I'm thinking about pulling my hands to my knees and my knees to my hands. And then from the tailbone, I flip and go back into flexion. Now, as I do this, my hands go away from my knees and my knees away from my hands to get more spinal flexion. One vertebrae at a time, all the way to the top. That's 1 total rep. We're going to do 3 of those together. So from quadruped, we start in this fully flexed position. And now from the tailbone, we slowly flip into extension. Again, trying to move 1 vertebrae at a time, not in clumps. I pull my hands to my knees to my hands, creating more tension till I get all the way up to the cervical. And now I flip that motion. My hands go away from my knees away from my hands as I start to flex the spine at the lumbar, going from the tailbone up through the thoracic, and finally all the way up through the cervical. That's 1 rep. Now for number 2. My hands to my knees to my hands as I start to go back into extension again at that pant line. Trying to move 1 inch at a time as best as possible. All the way through my thoracic. And finally up through my cervical. I switch the directions of my hands to my knees and my knees to my hands. I go away from one another. And then I flip back into flexion, starting at that tailbone. Rounding. Engaging the abs. Rounding, back to full flexion. 1 more time. Again, hands to my knees to my hands, finding all the muscles in my lumbar spine, pulling myself into an extended position, into my thoracic spine, creating more spinal extension, and then finally up through the cervical for max spinal extension. Hands go away from the knees away from the hands, and I flip back into flexion, again at the tailbone. 1 inch at a time, engaging the abs, rounding, all the way up. And rest. Beautiful. Okay, so next we're going to get into some deep stretching. You might want to put a towel under your knee if you're on a hard surface. But so what we're going to do is get into this split stance position, just like so. And now, if you come up onto your toes of the back leg versus them being flat down on the ground, you're going to find more of a stretch in the front of the hip. And so from this position, what we're going to think about doing is pulling our hip forward. So instead of that anterior pelvic tilt where the pelvis tilts down, we're going to go in the opposite direction and think about posterior, like we're pulling our hip up, trying to look inside our belly button. Now, from this position, I'm going to go forward to start to find a stretch on the side of my hip, and it might even go up a little bit higher. That's totally fine. Now, from here, we hold this stretch in the front of our hip. We take our hands behind our back, specifically taking my left hand, grabbing my right wrist, putting it behind my head, and then I'm going to laterally flex over. Now, as I do this, I'm going to sink it to a deeper stretch. And what you should find is that stretch come up a little bit higher, underneath, or even right around the rib cage. We're going to hold this stretch for 1 minute. Now, as the stretch backs off, we're going to come in a little bit deeper into this end range of motion. Good breath work. There should be no pain on this side. Thirty seconds. Okay, now from here, we're going to create an isometric contraction using this stretch tissue. So the two places where we're going to contract is one from the front of our right hip, thinking about driving our right knee forward like we're hip flexing up, and two, laterally flexing back down. Now, because we're holding our wrist with that opposite side arm, that's going to hold us in place. And because we're putting all our weight on top of our knee's not going to move. That's what's going to create the isometric tension. So we start by pulling that knee forward and crunching down with the opposite side of our body and the ground stopping us from doing so, creating that isometric tension. So if I let go of all these things, everything would come crunching down, knee would come up. We start at 10% of our greatest effort meaning 100% effort, 20%, 30, 40, 50, hold here for 20, 18, 15, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, inhale. Exhale, sink into a deeper stretch as you bend over. Breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Two more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And slowly come out of that position. If you're stiff, that's normal. That's what happens when we try to work and improve end range of any motion. Those are very deep tissues. We're going to switch up, go to the other side. So same idea here. We're thinking about getting a stretch in the front of our left hip by pulling our hip forward and making sure that we're not dumping down and coming into this position. We're tilting our pelvis up, then coming forward into the stretch, really trying to engage all that tissue. And then we're going to take our opposite side arm and pull ourselves over into this laterally flexed position. Once we have this stretch, we hold here passively for 1 minute. As the stretch alleviates, we come a little bit deeper into that end range. Just again, make sure we're not extending from the lumbar spine. Thirty more seconds. Okay, guys, now we're going to add that light to moderate isometric tension again. Again, thinking about taking our left knee, driving it forward, and then thinking about taking this arm and crunching it down. Now, because we're blocking it with this arm and the ground is stopping us, we're not going to move. We're just going to amplify that tension, starting at 10% of our greatest effort, 20%, again, crunching down and driving the knee forward, 30%, 40, 50, holding here for 20 seconds, 18, 16, 14, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, inhale. Exhale, come into a deeper stretch. Bend over, slide the hip forward more. Inhale. Exhale. Try to let go of the tissues. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Nice and easy. Come out of that position. Beautiful. Okay, next, we're going to need a chair, or if you want, you could do this on the edge of your couch. Just make sure the chair won't roll away from you. And what we're going to do here is we're going to target lumbar flexion. So we're going to work on opening all those tissues that are restricting our spine from going into a flex position. Now, what you might find in this position is that your hamstrings are going to block you first. If that's the case, that's totally fine. We're going to work on opening that area first. Okay, so from here, we stick our legs out in front of us. Now, I actually do want you to have a slight bend in the knee, not too much, but just a couple of degrees. And then from here, we're going to curl down into flexion. Now, once we get restriction, like tension in our back, we're going to hold this stretch passively for 1 minute. Thirty more seconds. Remember, come a little bit deeper. If the stretch starts to alleviate, should be no pain, just a stretch tension happening. Okay, now from here, we're going to create that light to moderate isometric tension again. But this time, we're going to think about driving our heels down. And we're actually going to take our arms, place them underneath our knees, and we're going to think about pulling ourselves up, but we're going to hold ourselves in position with this grip. So as I'm driving my heels down, I'm also trying to come up, but my arms are stopping me from doing so. So I start driving my heels down into the ground and pulling myself back up at 10% of my greatest effort, 20%, 30%, 40, 50, hold here, 20, 18, 16, 14, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, inhale. Exhale, come into a deeper stretch. Three breaths, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time, inhale. Exhale. And slowly come back out of that position. Now we're going to go back to the ground. For 3 more of these spinal segmentation drills. So from here, we start in that fully rounded position. I begin pulling my hands to my knees and my knees to my hands as I start to go into extension. Coming up through the thoracic spine. Again, moving 1 inch at a time, all the way up to the cervical. Once I get into this fully extended position, I pull my hands to my knees to my hands a little bit harder. Hold all those tissues between your tailbone and the back of your neck. And now we go in opposite direction. Hands go away from knees, knees away from hands. And now I start going back into flexion, rounding that spine, finding those abs, rounding, rounding through the thoracic, 1 inch at a time. And finally up through the cervical spine. 2 more times. Pull my hands to my knees to my hands as I go into extension at the tailbone. Through the thoracic, Up through the cervical. Hold here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flip back into flexion. Hands away from knees, knees away from hands. Rounding. Find those abs. Crunch. Curl. A little bit more intensity. Curl. 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 Find that stickings point. Hold 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch direction. Hands go to knees, knees to hands. Flip back into extension. Find all those tissues responsible for turning that pelvis down. Extending, 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 extending. Hold 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands away from knees, knees away from hands. Flip from that tailbone one last time. Rounding, 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 flexion. All the way up to the cervical spine. Hold that tension. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And rest. Beautiful. Okay, my friends. Use that as needed. If you're looking for a mobility program and a coach to run side by side with Jiu-Jitsu, take a look at my program, the BJJ Kin Stretch Club, where I'll teach you how to heal your damaged joints and strengthen them for the demands of Jiu-Jitsu. The link's in the description. Stay strong.